one often discovers the true burden of silence only when another begins to occupy it. He was known as Ben. He stepped into my home. He transcended the role of merely being my son's best friend. He was an unfamiliar face, yet that would soon change. Phone call marked the beginning. My son Ethan asked, "Mom, is it all right if Ben stays with us for a bit? The dormitory is set to close for maintenance." Merely fleeting moment. I agreed. Indeed I did. I had been acquainted with Ben since our days in high school. He would visit during the winter breaks, ever courteous, ever beaming, the sort of lad you confided in with your precious silverware and your innermost secrets. He settled in that weekend. 2 pieces of luggage, a rucksack. His voice was gentle as he expressed, "Thank you for having me, Mrs. Green." Ben stood taller than I recalled, wider. He possessed that expression that men often wear, a blend of youthful spirit and the weight of unspoken burdens lurking in their eyes. He assisted in unloading the groceries, proposed to remedy the flickering porch light. He laughed at my jokes in a manner that Ethan hadn't in years. One evening he took it upon himself to prepare dinner. Pasta. Uncomplicated, yet it bore the flavor of exertion, as if someone had considered me beyond a fleeting instant. Peculiar, the swiftness with which one acclimates to a man's company after a lifetime of solitary slumber. For years have passed since my husband, Greg, left this world. Cardiac arrest, swift, harsh. Since that time the house had grown more silent than any place ought be. Ethan possessed a life uniquely his own. Labor companions, what about me? I indulge in the written word. Purified, instructed on a part-time basis at the community college, offered a courteous smile to the neighbors, yet kept the door firmly closed, never truly allowing anyone inside. Until Ben arrived, we engaged in conversation, surpassing my expectations. In the stillness of the night, the kitchen came alive as the kettle simmered softly. He inquired about Greg. He heard, truly attentive, not as if merely ticking off boxes, but as if someone who has also felt the weight of loss. He shared with me the story of his mother, how she departed when he was just 10 years old, how he occasionally found himself anticipating a birthday card that never arrived, and a sensation began to awaken within me. Not quite attraction, not at this moment, simply acknowledgement. The manner in which fractured entities perceive their own image in a different fissure. He started addressing me as Susan rather than Mrs. Green. Initially, it struck a discordant note. Then it resonated with an unfamiliar note, a sound I hadn't realized I had longed for. He began to observe the details around him. The mug, cherish most. How I curled my toes while immersed in a book. Unconsciously, my fingers brushed against my wedding ring. And then he glided by me in the corridor, hardly grazed. Yet my skin held on to the memory for hours. Fateful night, Ethan embarked on a weekend journey alongside his friends. Just Ben and me in the house. We indulged in a film, an exploration of romance and emotional intricacies. The title escapes my memory entirely. Yet I recall the way his gaze met mine in a moment of stillness. Gaze gentle, without any judgment, only existence. And for the first time in years I experienced the essence of being a woman, transcending mere roles. Not a mother, not a widow, merely an observer, simply myself. I did nothing at all. Not at this moment. There shall be no kisses. There shall be no admissions. Yet a subtle transformation stirred within me. A door creaked ajar in a corridor. I believed had been forever locked away. And I found myself lost in thought, wondering if perhaps he felt it as well. One can never truly discern the moment when innocence fades away. There is no alarm. There is no red light. Fleeting gaze lingered for an instant too. Extended, a stillness that conveys more than any words could ever express. A weekend, Ethan had vanished, and in an instant the house exuded a warmth it had never known before. On a Friday evening I prepared a roasted chicken, accompanied by a fresh salad perfectly portioned for two. Ben graciously volunteered to tackle the dishes once the meal was over. He pushed up his sleeves with determination. For a fleeting moment I found myself simply observing him, the sinewy muscles of his forearms. He hummed softly under his breath. The water cascaded from his fingers, a movement both intimate and fruitless. He pivoted and found my gaze upon him. He smiled. Nothing implied. Yet it is not entirely devoid of substance. We found ourselves on the a documentary flickered on the screen, yet its subject eluded my grasp. Our legs remained apart, yet they were near, excessively near. He inquired about literature concerning the essence of love. Contemplating the aftermath of devastation, I pondered the resilience required of those who, despite losing everything, found the strength to rise and face a new day. Emotion welled up within me, threatening to spill over in tears. Yet I refrained. Instead I shared with him the story of Greg. The unspoken thoughts that linger in silence, not even to Ethan. Ben, he remained silent. He simply absorbed the words with the entirety of his visage. A fleeting moment lingered in the air. He extended his hand toward the remote. Our hands grazed against one another. Hardly, yet my body recoiled as if it had been hit by a bolt of lightning. My gaze fell upon him, and for the first time he held his gaze steady. His gaze lingered on me, prolonged beyond what was necessary, long enough for us to realize the pretense had faded away. Rose to my feet. I mentioned that I was weary, whispered a soft good night. My ascent up the stairs felt more labored than normal. I sensed his gaze upon me. Palpable sensation coursed through me. I chose not to look back. Yet with all my heart I yearned to. I gazed into the bathroom mirror, contemplating my reflection still wrapped in my sweater, locks cascading freely without any makeup. My cheeks were aglow, my lips gently or my thoughts were far from Greg, or perhaps Ethan, or the reality that I was 54 and he was merely 22. Found myself pondering the way his gaze held on my lips as I spoke, and how after so many years I experienced the sensation of being someone deserving of attention. Endeavored to capture it in words within the pages of my journal. Nothing happened, I penned, yet it nearly came pass. In certain respects that is even more troubling, for now I understand the depth of my desire for the entry remains unfinished. Ripped it from its place, sent it spiraling into the depths of the toilet bowl. Yet the words, they remained. Certain events need not unfold to transform at all. A glance, a moment of stillness, a heartbeat suspended in that weekend we refrained from sharing a kiss, never grazed beyond a whisper of flesh. Yet we were both aware that something had already taken root, and once it arrives you can no longer feign ignorance of its presence. There exists a fleeting instant just before the plunge when you realize there's still a chance to retreat, and then you simply don't. It was a rainy Tuesday afternoon when that moment arrived for me. In the confines of my kitchen, alongside a boy who had transcended the boundaries of boyhood. At the stroke of noon, the rain began to fall. Ethan had prolonged his journey. Ben sat in the living room engrossed in the book I had suggested. His gaze lifted as I entered. The room glimmered with a smile, a gentle, weary smile that always appeared to comprehend more than it ought to. Seemed to embody tranquility whenever the rain falls, he remarked. Chuckle escaped my lips. It serves as a reminder that the world continues to turn even in moments when I feel frozen in place. I brewed a cup of tea. I sat across from our knees nearly brushed against each other beneath the table. He moved unexpectedly to gently tuck a strand of hair behind my ear. It was diminutive, concise, yet I found myself paralyzed, not for lack of desire, yet it was driven by a yearning for something greater. I rose from my seat, muttering a few words regarding the task of folding laundry. He trailed behind gradually with great care. It was as though he lingered, anticipating my refusal. He did not. I spun on my heel, and there he stood, so near, so incredibly youthful, and yet so unwaveringly certain. Susan, he murmured softly. Only my name, that was all it required. And then he pressed his lips against mine, gentle, nearly terrified. Yet, as I remained still, his hands gently cradled my face, my waistline, my backaches. Sense of unraveling washed over me. Something hidden within, yearning to break free. Silence enveloped us as I guided him up the stairs. Each step resonated with the sting of treachery. Each heartbeat resonated with the essence of rebirth. Upon entering my room, I hesitated. Still have the option to walk away, I remarked. He advanced instead. And then we removed each other's garments, not with haste, but with a sense of honor. It was as though the words were spoken. See you. Yet my desire for you remains unwavering. As his fingers brushed against my skin, a tremor coursed through my entire being, not out of fear, yet through the gentle caress of memory. I was reminded of the parts of myself I had long since overlooked. Pace was deliberate with intention. Lacked perfection. It lacked any semblance of grace. Yet it was undeniably real. Each breath taken, each kiss, each quiver, it belonged solely to me. After an extended period, at long last we rested in quietude of breath, yet his hand grasped mine. Silence enveloped us, for there existed no words that could be deemed secure. The ceiling held my gaze, a blank canvas. Above me, at the light filtering through the partially drawn blinds, and I pondered. This marks the dawn of the conclusion. Later, when I showered, I cried, not due to any sense of regret. Yet I was aware that I would. This was not love, not at this moment, yet it was far from insignificant. 'Twas the gentle cry of a woman who had lingered too long to feel desired once more. At night I found no rest. I reclined in the shadows, reminiscing about his skin, his breath, his voice whispering my name as if it held significance. And I understood this was not the final moment, for once you experience that essence of vitality, it lingers, refusing to fade into silence. Secret can be concealed within locked drawers, in hushed phone conversations, and in sheets that are changed before the dawn breaks. Yet it remains impossible to conceal it from a person who has been a part of your existence for as long as you can remember, particularly when they return home ahead of schedule. Saturday morning dawned. I had just brewed a fresh cup of coffee. Ben was upstairs, lost in slumber, or so I believed. Suddenly the front door swung open. The sound of keys jingling echoed softly. Echoes of footsteps. A voice that resonates with recognition. Mother. Greetings. I have returned. Ethan. My heart ceased its rhythm, then surged, a thunderous beat echoing in my ears. Called up the stairs, my voice steady as could muster. Ben. Ethan's home. I was uncertain whether he had caught my words. I couldn't tell if he was in his room or in mine. I hurried to the laundry room, crammed the sheets from last night into the washer, activated it swiftly with a volume that was overwhelming. Ethan entered quietly, trailing just behind me. Is everything all right? A smile graced my lips. Excessively broad. Certainly, merely tending to some household tasks. During lunch, the three of us gathered around the kitchen table. Ben remained silent, exercised caution, excessively cautious. Ethan observed us closely, observed me. My eyes flitted about restlessly. The manner in which I steered clear of Ben's plate as if it were a source of searing. And then, out of nowhere, Ethan remarked, "You're wearing makeup. Has been weeks since you last adorned your face with makeup." I brushed it aside. With a chuckle. Simply struck me. His eyes narrowed. He was far from foolish. He was my child. He understood the cadence of my being. He detected a shift in the scent of the air. On that particular night, Ben made his way to my room. Yet I chose to keep him out. We lingered in the hallway merely inches away. Draw near and breathe. I cannot, I murmured. Not while he is present. He inclined his head in acknowledgement. Yet the gaze in his eyes, it transcended mere restraint. The experience was one of agony, for we were acutely aware that this had transcended mere physicality. The following day, Ethan joined me in the living room. Extended silence. Is there something happening between you and Ben? My throat constricted. My hands became icy, immobilized by the chill. A smile crafted for endurance. Certainly not. Ben feels like family. The deception lingered. Bitter aftertaste clinging to my tongue. Ethan refrained from pressing the matter further. Yet his silence resonated more powerfully than any accusation could. Under the cover of darkness, Ben meticulously gathered his belongings into a bag. He mentioned that he had to go stay with a friend. He expressed a desire for some distance. He averted his gaze, avoiding my eyes. There was no farewell embrace. Yet as he stepped through the threshold, it was as if a myriad of farewells unfurled. Simultaneously, Ethan chose to remain silent on the matter thereafter. Yet undeniable shift occurred in our connection. The way he gazed at me as if I were a stranger he no longer knew. The most disheartening realization was, he was indeed right. For once you have traversed that boundary, even in the absence of witnesses, you are forever altered. Not for them, not to oneself. It's peculiar how existence continues, even when a part of you has ceased to be. Ben had vanished. Ethan remained quiet, and I remained in this place. Once more solitude envelopes me, yet it remains distinct. The atmosphere of the house had shifted, more subdued, yet not in a tranquil manner. Seemed to be suspended in a moment of anticipation, as if it lingered, anticipating the return of a soul who would never arrive. I drifted through the days, a mere echo of my former self, instructing, tidying up, neglecting the art of emotion. Ethan lingered for a week. Our conversation unfolded, yet it lingered solely on groceries, the weight of bills, and the capriciousness of the weather. He never uttered Ben's name, not even once. He never inquired again. Yet one morning, as he prepared to head back to school, he looked at me and remarked, "I merely Wish that you recall the essence of who you were prior to all of this. He embraced me rigid, fleeting, and departed. I have not heard him utter, "I love you," since. Several days passed, and then I stumbled upon a photograph. It rested upon the nightstand in the guest room. 17. And there they were, Ben and Ethan, beaming, unburdened. Clutched it tightly against my heart, tears streaming down my face. Not due to a longing for Ben, not completely. Having crossed a threshold I could never return from, and seized something my son would forever lose. I once pinned a letter to Ben. I hold no regrets for the emotions you stirred within me. I lament the price it exacted. Our desire for something was not misplaced. We erred in seeking it within one another. I did not send it through the mail. Certain truths are not meant to continue their journey. Time does not mend every far. However, it assists you in navigating life alongside them. Taken up cooking once more, nurturing the garden, exchanging warm smiles with the neighbors, not due to my completeness. Yet I had resolved to no longer be tormented by the past. One day, I gazed into the mirror and felt no tremor. I observed a woman who had erred in her choices, large ones, yet who remained upright, continuing to evolve, yet still possessing the capacity for kindness even in relation to herself. Ben is a subject I prefer to avoid. Indeed, no one does. He's a name lost in the depths of courteous exchanges and shifting topics, yet on occasion when the breeze caresses the air in a certain way, his voice echoes in my mind, those hands of his, the manner in which he uttered my name as if it were a precious treasure to be held dear, and I allowed myself to embrace it, if only for a fleeting instant, not due to a sense of longing for his presence. In that instant the authenticity was undeniable, and authentic experiences imprint themselves. This is not a tale of allure or love or perhaps treachery. It unfolds as a tale of solitude, of necessity to be perceived in a manner that felt excessive yet insufficient. Simultaneously, Ben was never truly vain. He was the closest companion of my son, and I was meant to be merely his host mom. Yet for a fleeting moment we transcended the bounds of what we ought to have been, and now we embody precisely what we are meant to be. Vanished.